Hi, today we are going to take a look at this little three-way intersection. It's built on the side of the big U-turn intersection that we could have seen in some of the previous videos here on this channel. Today we are going to take a look at this one in slightly more detail. We have already seen some of this footage in the previous video, but we are going to talk about it in more detail today. So, as with the U-turn intersection, I first started building this three-way intersection in like one particular way that I later changed to be a bit more realistic. In here I wanted to create like a very smooth transition between that two-lane highway on the left, and I wanted to create like a turning lane left for that intersection. I used this six-lane highway or six-lane Broad Avenue Road. It was looking the best, I think, for the purpose that I wanted to create here. And the lanes that I'm not using, I'm going to cover with ploppable grass, just like I did before on that U-turn intersection. Putting down some road markings, as you can see here. At this point, I'm not sure, but I think that I was not exactly following the real-life standards. But later, I definitely will. So this is how it looked like at first, but I didn't like it. And I didn't like, in particular, the transition between that two-lane highway and the transition to the turning lane. It was a bit too sudden, and I wanted to do it more smoother, just like in real life it would be. So first I completely flattened the area, built the highway again, and in here I tried to create that transition. Now, in real life, in the game, if you want a transition between different road types, different number of lanes, you can do it on a node, and that's very short, so the transition is very fast and not very realistic. So in here I try to make that transition longer. I use these two roads that I kind of squeezed together using Move It, and then I just saw the traffic. I was just experimenting with different positions, and I tried to make it so that the traffic looks good. It actually goes smoothly over that transition. So basically, there is like a very smooth, like a diverging of those two lanes into those three lanes, and the inner lane, the inner turning lane, is like slowly like getting wider until it gets useful for the traffic turning left. So I was done with that, and then I started putting down some of these road markings, these lines. At first I was doing just a continuous line to kind of mark the locations where cars actually do need to go. I was using the real traffic to kind of get the estimate where they need to be placed. And now going for some smaller details, like some of these stopping lines, for example, making it aligned, stuff like that. Now making these short lines in here. Again, like I was doing with the U-turn intersection, if I want the correct thickness, I need to put these lines, like two of them, together on one side. So it was not all that easy. It was kind of tricky. Now this is a very important part. I wanted to try and do like realistic thicknesses and spacings for these stripes in here. Unlike the U-turn intersection where I didn't really have that much space to do it. But in here it's looking really good. Now doing some of these lines inside the intersection like before, using these short lines again, and then doing some of these dividing lines as well with different thicknesses, and kind of making it all look nicer with the ploppable asphalt, because the intersection had a lot of colors that I kind of didn't like. Now this side road, the road that goes towards the intersection, there also needs to be a separate turning lanes for both directions, and they obviously need to come from like a two-lane road. So I did it using that grass median road and these markings as well. And obviously Traffic Manager is really important to make it all work like it needs to. And some of the tiny details around the intersection, like this pavement, ploppable pavement, and some gravel in here to mask the grass on the side of that road. And finally, traffic arrows, 5 of them for turning left, going straight, and one little arrow for both directions. In here, 3 arrows turning left, and 3 going... Well, I painted lanes going straight, but obviously that's a mistake. I later changed that for turning right. Now finalizing the ploppable asphalt there. In here, putting down the soundproof barrier for that residential area so that people won't complain too much. Obviously, it's just a prop. It doesn't really do anything for the game. And the buildings are, not that close to the road anyway. Now I tried to make it with the decals so that the turning lane is looking like it's not all that used. So it's slightly brighter. Now in here, I was doing like an abandoned road that was going towards that intersection, but it's just going to be like disconnected from the road. As you can see, I'm using the ploppable gravel in here to kind of make it clear that the road is abandoned and it's just not connected with the asphalt to the actual intersection. I'm going to explain later why I decided to make this road. Putting down some of these barriers, making them not like in a straight line, so it's slightly more realistic. Make it look like, no one really cares about those barriers anymore. And to make it clear that this road is older and abandoned, no longer in use, we are just using some of this road damage decals to make it look like it. And obviously trying to mask that transition between ploppable asphalt and the actual texture of the road. And then making some trees. As you can see on the upper screen, on the upper side of the screen, I also made like a farm area, farm field, just behind these trees. And putting down some tall grass to make it all look nicer. Now the purpose of this abandoned road, I wanted to make it so that in the past, the only way to leave Rockdale in this part of the map was through this little town that we built last time. But over time, Rockdale became bigger and the traffic increased. It became unbearable for the locals of the little town, so they urged the local government to build a bypass highway. Now this is the straight highway going through the U-turn intersection, and also the smaller highway that we have going through straight through the 3-way intersection that we just built. And then it continues back to the U-turn as well. Now the old road these days is not used, no one wants to dismantle it or repair it, so it stayed, but it just has the concrete barriers on the entrances to it. That was it for this little intersection. I definitely like it. I think the main highlight of this one is the smooth transition between the 2-lane highway and the 3-lane segment with the turning lane just before the intersecting point. Doing these transitions with just the one node, like suddenly, is not looking very good. This one is much better. I hope you like this intersection as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.